culture that you see being injected into the Chinese society, injected into America, injected into the West, injected into Russia, where there's 56 genders. It's an alien ideology. 唔 normal, 唔正常嘅. The other day, I criticized this Malaysian lunatic on YouTube. His channel name is Comrade Confucius. I thought this guy was cool. When I first met this guy, he was not deranged. When I first met this guy, I agree with a lot of things he said, and he agreed with a lot of things I said. But then after a while, I don't know what the hell happened. He must have been in the jungle for too long. Hello from the capitalist dictatorship of Kuala Lumpur. What the hell's wrong with this guy? What the hell's wrong with this guy? So he goes around posting all these videos about how gender is fluid, how masculinity is fluid. We should stop living in the backward era of Victorian masculinity because gender, masculinity is fluid. Folks, I don't think gender is fluid. Folks, I don't think masculinity is fluid. Not at all. If this person genuinely believes that masculinity is fluid, please don't call yourself a Confucian, because in Confucianism, it is very clearly stated what the gender roles are. Every single successful society in the world has gender roles, and is a patriarchal gender role. Every single society which has been successful has been patriarchal. Unless you want to copy a tribe living in the middle of nowhere, what? Are we letting a tribe living in a stone age in the 21st century define what masculinity is? Okay, some tribes in the middle of the jungle eat each other as a rite of passage. Should we learn from them? Oh, but every culture is normal. Every culture is equal, right?
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the brutal, heartless, soul-crushing capitalist dictatorship of Kuala Lumpur. I hope you're having an amazing day, because if you're having an amazing day, I'm having an amazing day. And if I'm having an amazing day, you should also be having an amazing day. So if you've been paying attention to my channel over the past 2 to 3 years, you are well aware of the fact that, in my view, masculinity as conventionally understood in the modern capitalist Western world is simply an artificial construction, right? And what people accept as acceptable conventions of masculinity in the modern capitalist world is simply a product of post-industrial revolution Western bourgeois mores, right? I've actually made 2 videos on this, one entitled The Bro Code Part 1 and the other entitled The Bro Code Part 2, so you guys can check this out. And basically I debunk this idea that masculinity, according at least to the conventional Western masculinity gurus like Jordan Peterson or Andrew Tate, that filthy pimp, is something, you know, that can be defined by one particular strict set of rules. Because my party line, or the party line of this channel, has always been that masculinity is fluid and diverse, and it varies according to culture. And people from a modern capitalist Western society have no right to define what masculinity is, right? And unfortunately, this is what we have to address. Toxic masculinity is basically when men in modern capitalist society go around policing people for not conforming to the post-industrial revolution bourgeois standard of masculinity. I could go into the great masculine renunciation theory, but you know, there's not much time for that in this video, because you know, I only have an hour to spare today, but so I'll just get straight into today's content. Before we start, do watch Salari's videos, you know, on why right-wing men are so sad. Watch this one, and also watch this one entitled Masculinity is a Prison, in order to get more insight into what I'm trying to say. Because today's video is just a response video to one of my butt-hurt ex-supporters by the name of Captain Cool07. Now, Captain Cool is some Chinese-American chap, you know, who was drawn to my video for my videos rather, because he believed that he was basically eye to eye with me in the sense that we both saw eye to eye on everything. But of course, I haven't recanted any of my views. I have revised some of my views, right? For example, one of my revised views after receiving evidence is that democracy is really a good thing after all, right? I used to be skeptical about democracy, but now I'm positive that democracy is a good thing. And another one of my revised views is that, we should be giving uncritical support to China. Now I think that we ought to be giving critical support to China because, China has had some rather problematic trends. For example, putting up with billionaires, for example, and calling itself a communist country, as well as, a whole lot of other things. But that's not to say that I've recanted on my views on the Hong Kong protesters, for example. I still think that waving British flags on Chinese soil, or I should say on Asian soil, is still cringe, right? But still, yes, I haven't actually recanted most of my views. If, according to Captain Cool, I basically become a madman, a loony. But the fact of the matter is that when I was first building up my channel, I had to be careful to keep my more controversial views to myself, because I didn't want to alienate anyone, because I just wanted to get 1,000 subscribers, then I could get my community tab, right? And now that I've got over 1,000 subscribers, since I'm not really into this channel for money, now I've got a community tab, I can make my contempt for people from the right wing more visible, and I can make my contempt for right-wing ideology a lot more visible. I don't have to avoid offending anyone. I don't have to walk on eggshells in order to avoid anyone, right? So yeah, if you're a right-winger, you're not my friend, okay? Before that, I used to say, like, well, if you're a right-winger, I disagree with you, but yeah, now I can tell you straight off that I'm not your friend, right? I think, of course, it's better to be a left-winger than a right-winger, but that's another video for another day. So let's see what Captain Cool has to say about me.
The YouTube channel Comrade Confucius is a mental loon and has absolutely lost his mind. I am not even disappointed in him, but I'm actually starting to dislike this lumpy man. This guy's a Hanjian, which means race traitor, making misrepresentations of Chinese culture, Han culture, and Chinese civilization. Our Han has nothing to do with this loon.
Race traitor? When did I ever say I had any solidarity with the Chinese race? You're probably not aware, but I am a Peranakan, which means that I have some Malay ancestry in me, right? And also, the fact of the matter is that I have always said that racial solidarity is a myth. It is artificial. It is used by the bourgeoisie in order to divide the races between each other and to gaslight the people into thinking they should have some kind of imaginary solidarity with people, simply on the basis of shared ancestry. But let me ask you, do you have any solidarity with a Chinese capitalist if you're a working class Chinese person, or if you're an Indian person? Do you have solidarity with an Indian capitalist for that matter? No, because obviously a Chinese and an Indian capitalist have more solidarity with each other than either group has to a member of their own race, assuming that member of their own race was from a different class, right? Let's say from the working class. But what I'm trying to say is that I don't believe in racial solidarity. I believe in class solidarity. I believe in solidarity on the basis of ideals. And I most certainly don't believe in race-based politics, first of all. And second of all, I certainly do not believe in race-based discrimination. But this idea that people should all have some sense of, loyalty to one's race, and basically calling me some race traitor because I say I'm a member of the human race, not the Chinese race, the human race, is a moot point, because I never said I was a member of the Chinese race. I said I was a member of the human race. We're more similar than you like to think we are, right? The reactionaries, of course, want to divide the world because it makes us a lot easier to rule, you see. So I don't believe in racial identity politics. That's not to say that I'm pro-discrimination or stuff like that. But yeah, I have a lot more solidarity with a working class person of a different race than a capitalist of my own race, you see. Simple as.
The Malaysian jungle rot must have gotten to him. He wasn't always this deranged when I first met him. So this guy wears a skirt and says that we should abandon Victorian man-box notions of masculinity, that masculinity is fluid, while praising some obscure tribe which dresses up as women and does such a thing. Well, using this mindset, you might as well criticize Confucian man-box and stop calling yourself a Confucian in your name as well, because as Chinese, we do not participate in this behavior either.
Jungle rot, sir? Do I look like a man who spends any considerable amount of time in the jungle? Don't racially profile me just because I have a Chinese face and I like olive-colored caps with cute little red stars on them. I don't prowl around in the jungle trying to lead armed struggle against the government of Malaysia simply because I don't have the discipline to do so, you see. I'm just a punk with a camera phone and a big mouth making YouTube videos. Skirt, sir! Skirt? That is the obvious red flag and not a communist one, Captain Cool, that you are an American. This, my good man, is called a sarong, and it's part of my Southeast Asian culture. What happened to all the respecting cultural sovereignty that you National Socialists in America love to keep bandying? What happened to all that respecting cultural sovereignty when it comes to beating and killing homosexuals? Yes, you're perfectly fine with homosexuals being tortured, beaten, and killed, for example, in fundamentalist religious societies, because you say that's just their culture. Well, I think it's a lot less dangerous for a man to wear a sarong as a Peranakan. I am also a sarong wearer, just like my grandfather before me, and this is part of my Southeast Asian culture, sir. If you call me some subhuman degenerate because I want to express my cultural mores by wearing my Southeast Asian cultural attire, you are also calling my late grandfather, peace and blessing be upon him, a degenerate, because my late grandfather, who was a Baba, a Peranakan, would also wear sarongs habitually, you see. Oh, you don't know what a Peranakan is, right? Yeah, go look that up. Anyway, the point, you see, is that these Asian Americans, some of them of East Asian descent, especially the ones who like to describe themselves as model minorities, seem to have a rather East Asian sort of bias. Like, I have this gut feeling that can't really be proven, but I have a strong gut feeling that they look at us Southeast Asians as the jungle Asians. The embarrassing blot that they don't want to portray to white people. right? They want Southeast Asians to be in the background. And basically, you can see, judging by this Twitter post, which says how to eat Asian food. You know, as if Pakistanis, Malays, Indonesians, or perhaps Thais or Cambodians are somehow not Asian. But I suspect that some of these so-called model minority types really regard us Southeast Asian as poor, backward rednecks. And that's why they call us the jungle Asians, as Ali Wong would say. You know, I always wonder if they view us as the lesser Asians, the way Churchill viewed lesser whites, like the Irish, right? I have a strong gut feeling that's how they view us.
Masculinity is absolutely not fluid in our Chinese civilization. Confucius said, the king behaves as a king, the subject behaves as a subject, the father as a father. So we have fixed roles which we have to behave accordingly to. Masculinity is clearly defined in the concept of the Junzi, of Confucian thought, and the Li. What the hell is this comrade talking about? Ah!
Wait. Read the Analects. Read the Analects. Confucius never says anything about gender presentation. Never. At most, he talks about people's roles, right? Society runs well when a father is a father, a son is a son, a daughter is a daughter, a husband is a husband, a wife is a wife, and a king is a king, a brother is a brother, and a sister is a sister, right? That was quite fast, but I had to do it fast because I'm trying to save time here. But Confucius was basically outlining the original form of the social contract. When everyone plays their role in society, society will be in perfect harmony. When does Confucius ever say as a man that you can't wear eyeliner, or you can't doll your face up before doing a photo shoot? When does he ever say that? Well, there weren't any photographs. But the point is, men in Chinese history, and this is historical fact, of the noble classes who read Confucius, have been dolling themselves up for thousands of years, right? You need to get your head out of this 1950s Anglo-Western masculinity and realize that throughout Chinese history, men of the noble classes have always worn cosmetics and have always taken great pride in their physical grooming because they didn't want to look like dirty cavemen, right? This is not something that I made up. This is historical fact. Undeniable historical fact.
Confucius regarded people who did not respect the traditional value of Li as backward barbarians. That is why we have a Huayi distinction. Rename yourself to Comrade Barbarian instead.
Well, Confucius also regarded hair cutting as barbaric, comrade. But Captain, I don't see you wearing long hair, so, if I'm a barbarian, then so are you. The 5 virtues of Confucius: humanity, uprightness, wisdom, filial piety, and propriety can all be practiced no matter who you are or where you come from. Ultimately, it is not in the physical presentation, but the internal essence on whether you are a Confucian. I like to think I'm a humane person. You can ask any of my students, ask any of their parents. I'm so kind and gentle, the milk of human kindness flows in every one of my veins. I wouldn't even hurt a hamster if my life depended on it, I like to think that I am an upright person. I don't do anything that goes against my conscience, and that is why I speak my mind. I don't pussyfoot around on YouTube, and I don't sugarcoat anything, because it's always better to tell the truth and be hated, at least the truth according to my point of view, than to be silent and be loved by others. Yes. and I'm sure Confucius would agree with me as well. I like to think I like to think that I'm not yet wise, because it's always good to be humble. And one who says that he's wise is like a person who says he's handsome. Basically, I like to maintain that degree of modesty. I'm very filial to my parents. I love my parents a lot, and unlike you Americans, you Asian Americans, who basically don't even practice the multi-generational family unit, not even shaming you for that matter. Yeah, I live with my parents and I have no shame in that. I could afford to move out, more than afford to move out, but, it's my culture. And if my wife is perfectly okay with it in future, if my wife is perfectly alright with it, I respect women, so I will gain her consent first. My parents will be living with us. We might all be living together in one big house. My in-laws, my parents, my wife, me, and my children. I have never said anything about disliking traditional family values, And I've never once even said that there were more than 2 genders. You can search all around my channel. I've never ever once claimed that there were 56 genders.
So go imitate tribal natives and promote masculinity from an obscure Stone Age tribal culture. Can someone answer this question objectively without any political correctness emotion? Other than for anthropology purposes, what is the worth of being like a Stone Age culture and letting this define masculinity in 2023?
Holy shit, your Western chauvinism is sticking out like a tick on a dog's ass, man. Tribal natives, backward, barbaric Stone Age culture. Oh shit, bro. You can literally read British colonialists' diaries or British colonialists' journals from the colonial times in Malaya, and you would hear the exact same things used to describe local Asian people, right? Yeah, this is basically colonizer talk. And that's why I'm very, very skeptical about these people when they say you must respect people's cultural sovereignty. Do they respect the cultural sovereignty of the Wudabe tribe? No, they don't. And I think, this is just my personal opinion, but I think that men attending a beauty pageant, not that I would participate in one, I'm too ugly, but anyway, men taking part in a beauty pageant is a lot less dangerous for the social or the fabric of society than people throwing out their children for being homosexual or people persecuting people for being LGBT. I think it's a lot less harmful for a man to participate in a beauty pageant where he gets to fuck the winner in the end. It's just their culture, you have to respect it. But, it's not something that is hurting anybody. Nobody's being persecuted or bullied.
If we are to view masculinity as fluid or culturally relative, as something depending however one may feel, and if we are to be encouraged to learn how to be a real man from an obscure tribal culture, what is stopping people from learning and normalizing behavior other tribes like Papua New Guinea, where tribal men also perform oral on each other as a rite of passage to become real men? Some tribes in other parts of the world also cannibalize each other to become real men. What's wrong with this behavior then? After all, we need to get out of our rigid Victorian man box, or maybe a rigid Confucian man box. If I want to identify with a tribe, then it is my tribal culture to eat other human beings and suck each other off. What is wrong with that? Rawr!
Well, I like to think that there's a stark difference between committing cannibalism or pedophilia and basically, just having a beauty pageant for men where the winner gets to fuck the judges. I mean, there's a clear difference between these things, right? Obviously, there's a difference between these things that you don't want to accept because you want to call these things the same. They're not. It's like calling Nazism and communism the same thing. They're not. So to say that, cannibalism or pedophilia is the same thing as, a tribe having a beauty pageant where the men get to fuck, the winner gets to fuck the judges, it's disingenuous. I find it very, very disingenuous. Because they're not the same thing. And they don't create the same degree of damage, you see. Or, for that matter, a tribe where people bully LGBT people, that's a lot worse if you ask me, than people just having fun at a beauty pageant. I really love how these LaRouchites, these people like Jackson Hinkle, Samira Khan, Captain Cool, basically they always talk about being, what was the word for it? Yes. They always talk about being multipolarists, Unlike the so-called degenerate woke leftists of the West, they're supposed to be a lot more open-minded when other cultures are concerned. But as it turns out, they're only open-minded when it comes to aspects of other cultures or other societies that they like. For example, persecuting and bullying gay people, yeah, that's cool. But when men want to carry out a beauty pageant, participate in a beauty pageant where the winner gets to fuck the judges, oh, it's degeneracy! Oh my god! We have to stamp this out! Oh, we can't emulate this kind of degeneracy. But yeah, you want to emulate the degeneracy of persecuting gay people or persecuting LGBT people or treating them like a marginalized minority. But yes, these people really will not admit it, but they have a very, very British colonial view of what, or I should say European colonial view of what proper masculinity and proper femininity is, because they only seem to be restricted, or I should say that they are restricted by the colonial gender binary that was imposed on Asia and Africa. Now I'll tell you, that anyone who still has any historical memory will know that the British colonizers and the Portuguese colonizers, when they came to Malaya, they were shocked and horrified. Even in China, they were shocked and horrified about how permissive the local people were towards so-called degeneracy, right? Anyone who's from a far right-wing Islamo-fascist background in Malaysia will be very, very disappointed if they went back to the olden days, like in the glory days, like the Malacca Sultanate, because the Sultan himself had a thing known as Sida, who were basically eunuchs, right? And these eunuchs, it is well known, participated in homosexual relations with each other. It was perfectly acceptable in the Sultanate era, right? But then the British, when they came here, well, they found all these permissive, open-minded attitudes towards degenerate sexuality to be too uncomfortable for them. So they instituted things like the buggery law or things like that, which basically causes people of LGBT background in Asia to still suffer greatly from today, because you find that countries that are the cruelest, Islamic countries that are the cruelest towards homosexuals or LGBT people, also tend to be former European colonies. You can look that up yourself. I'm not making shit up, right? Because it is not in our Asian values to basically persecute or bully people from LGBT communities. In fact, according to my brother's girlfriend, who's Hindu, people who are transgender literally had some kind of a special connection with God, right? But unfortunately, the puritanical modern-day Hindu, right? These puritanical modern-day Hindu who follows British colonial norms would be very, very offended to hear that, you see. Yeah.
He even attacked the pro-China user, Shang Yu, out of the blue for no reason. This YouTuber Comrade Confucius is a Hanjian to the Chinese identity. degenerate heathen. Yeah.
Oh, it's nothing personal. Anybody who's part of the LaRoucheite gang, the LaRoucheite gang of fascists, will be viciously attacked by anyone on the left, you see. If you're part of the LaRoucheite gang, you are not someone that I will go light on, because you guys are infiltrators, trying to infiltrate the left wing of America, and by extension, infiltrating the left wing of the world by pretending to be socialists, but in fact being national socialists, right? Now, I'm very kind to Xiang Yu. I am not as unkind towards him as I am to fellas like Jackson Hinkle, who unironically call Gonzalo Lira, aka Coach Red Pill, the alt-right public figure, his good friend. But what is this infantile obsession about everybody liking the same public figures that you do? I swear, people like Douglas Kim, who went on a hate campaign against me because I made fun of his Lord and Saviour, Infrared Haas, and people like Captain Cool are like a bunch of immature schoolboys who cannot tolerate it when you attack their favourite football team or their favourite athlete, pretty much. I swear that they view celebrities with even more respect than their own father, you see. They will respond with righteous fury if you attack their favourite celebrity. Look, let me put it this way. Xiang Yu and Haas, they're not nobodies, yeah? They are celebrities. As a regular person in society, I am expressing my freedom of speech by attacking celebrities. Celebrities, leaders, whatever, should be criticized. They should be critically, just like, I don't report anyone who attacks me on my channel. I don't say that the law should deal with them, because I'm not a fascist, you see. You can say whatever you want about me. I don't care. It's your opinion, and I believe that everyone has a right to their opinion, right? If I have a low opinion of your favorite celebrity or something, it's my right. It's my democratic right to have a low opinion of your favorite celebrity or your favorite public figure, right? But you fellas act as if I've attacked your own father, just because people don't like the same celebrities that you do, you see. In fact, you guys even get more butthurt about it than these celebrities themselves. I doubt Haas or Xiang Yu gets as butthurt as you guys do about me making fun of them, you see. Because basically, they are celebrities, right? Celebrities expect to be criticized by people who don't think highly of them, right? And they should be criticized because, it's a small price to pay for the celebrity status that you enjoy. But yes, you see, teaching free speech to fellas like Captain Cool or Douglas Kim is like teaching gravity to a cockroach. Sometimes you just have to apply it, you see. So no, I'm not gonna keep my mouth shut just because you try to intimidate me into silence. I will not be intimidated into silence. I am opinionated and I have a right to express my view. You have a right to express your view. And in a democratic country with free speech, everyone should have the right to express whatever view they like, no matter how odious, right? Because if you don't agree with free speech, if you believe that only certain views should be acceptable and, people expressing views that you find distasteful should be persecuted or locked up, well, what does that make you but a fascist, right? So, no, I'm expressing my freedom of speech. I attack any political leader I like. I attack any public figure I like. And Confucius himself went around attacking, the three noble families or the kings of the warring states. He didn't pussyfoot around and keep his mouth shut. He was outspoken, rebellious. He challenged them. Basically, and I intend to follow his example. If I have an opinion, I will express it, whether you like it or not. Because, as I've said, teaching free speech to people who do not respect free speech is like teaching the concept of gravity to a cockroach. You just need to apply it sometimes, you see. But yeah, I don't hate Captain Cool or Douglas Kim or House, but you know, I don't think that, for example, people's opinions should be stifled in order to spare the feelings of people who might find those opinions distasteful, right? Like, people can have an opinion about me. Lots of right-wing fascists have an opinion of me as well. I don't think your opinion should be stifled. But I also have an opinion about you guys, right? So, you know, you can hate me, you can express your views about me, no matter how odious those views are, and I have a right to express my views about you people, you see? You people. Now, I am done with my rant, and I am heading off now. So, cheerio, tally-ho everyone, and I'm gonna see you in the next video. Alright. Thank you. And goodbye. And remember, you know, stay away from fascists, basically. But if you want to be friends with them, expect me to make fun of you, okay? Bye-bye.